is asking us what kind of challenges we had making this film. I'll speak for myself, and Aaron, if you want to speak for yourself. I think aside from the logistical challenges and storytelling challenges, one huge challenge was we're just 20, at the time, 27-year-old Canadian boys trying to take on a pretty huge subject matter. It was a big responsibility, and these people all opened up their lives and their doors to us, and there was a fear that we'd fail them and let them down. I hope we haven't. That has continued to be a challenge. But I'd say that that was the logistical things you can get over, but those emotional challenges are a little bit harder to overcome.
And I would add that the obstacles that we came up against in the process of filming were actually relatively minor compared to the process of editing this story. So, you know, six people driving around Europe in a van for 6 weeks, gathering this footage on an extremely tight schedule with a mandate to get a substantial amount of material in a short period of time, that came with its stresses, but ultimately the biggest obstacle or challenge, I should say, was that we came back with a ton of great material, and what you see on screen represents maybe 1% of the material that we were able to gather, and as a result, that process was a very long process and very difficult, also because of how many topics we're bridging. I mean, there's the story of the Holocaust, there's trying to challenge misconceptions about the culture, trying to define terminology, trying to deal with present-day politics, and connect these all together into one story. So having a heavy burden as far as the background information that needs to be provided so that this film can stand on its own, I think one important thing that we wanted to tackle, and I hope that we succeeded, was that for somebody, this particularly deals with education, if a young person were watching this film and this was the first they were learning about the Holocaust, we want the Roma story to be able to stand on its own as a method of teaching that history, rather than the Holocaust education that up until this point has caused the Roma to feel like a footnote in history. So in the case of this film, we wanted it to be able to stand on its own, and as a result, that means putting in certain information about the Holocaust that's not just specific to the Roma, but a shared history to all those groups affected. So it's a lot to try to fit into one story.